How to Train Your Dragon is a movie franchise I never really cared about growing up. I saw the first two in theaters back in the day, but never really thought back on them. I just know that I liked the second one. This was until I got a couple of YouTube comments saying I sound like Hiccup, so you know I had to rewatch the movies after that. And you know what? They're way better than I remember. I consider the first one to be a pretty solid movie, the third one to also be pretty good, with a good enough conclusion. But today, the one I want to talk about the most would be How to Train Your Dragon 2. Probably the best movie in the franchise, in my opinion, and honestly, just a masterpiece of a film in general. So, let's get right into it. The first thing I want to say about How to Train Your Dragon 2 is that the animation is a big step up from the first movie. The first film doesn't look bad, but it definitely looks noticeably outdated, whereas the second one, to this day, 10 years later, still looks very good. The jump in animation is definitely something I just wanted to mention, but obviously in the grand scheme of things, it's very minor, as the world of How to Train Your Dragons feels absolutely expanded upon from the moment the movie starts. This film is supposed to take place 5 or 6 years after the first film, yet continuity-wise, it feels like I picked up just where I left off, which in my opinion is a beautiful thing. The second movie links with the first movie perfectly in a way to expand and build upon this cinematic world. The story of How to Train Your Dragons 2 also goes far more in depth than the first movie. I'd argue the first movie lived up to its name, as it spent 60% of its runtime on Hiccup and Toothless's relationship, which was warranted, but the second movie goes the extra mile, as it follows Hiccup struggling to take the absolutely overwhelming responsibility of being chief and leading an entire village that once saw him as a useless kid not too long ago. On top of all that, it's discovered a whole new world of evil lies not too far from Berk, and with enough antagonizing, an absolute beast named Drago Bludvist is alerted. As all this is happening, a massive plot twist occurs, and Hiccup finds out his mother is still alive, and even gets his father to reunite with her in one of the most memorable scenes of all time.
You're as beautiful as the day I lost you.
This is also the scene that shows Stoick's development from the first movie. He's now accepting of change, and his patience is at an all-time high to be pretty chill with his wife hiding from him for 20 years. It's not too long after this, though, where Drago Bludvist would declare war with the leaders of Berk, and instead of killing Drago when given the chance, Hiccup tries to show the same compassion he gave Toothless in the first movie. But unbeknownst to him, there are even humans more monstrous than the dragons. And that's what would lead to Hiccup ultimately losing not only the war, but also his father and his best friend, and even the land of Berk. After all this, he's absolutely forced to be chief, as his father's now dead, and instead of complaining, he sucks it up and defeats Drago and defends Berk as Toothless overtakes the Alpha, becoming, I don't know, the Sigma?
That's not funny!
In my opinion, this is a fantastic story, and it's greatly benefited from its characters. Hiccup has grown a lot from the first movie, but at the same time, he's not too different, as he's still pretty naive and stubborn, just like his father. Him and Toothless's dynamic never fails to disappoint as well, and the new villain, Drago Bludvist, has to be one of my favorite animated movie villains of all time. I mean, for one, his name is just awesome. It's common knowledge not to with someone named Drago Bludvist. That's insane. And he has such a cool design. He's pretty much a Hiccup who lost everything. He proves to be more monstrous and emotionless than the dragons he controls, and he goes by the kill or be killed motto. And this scene right here, where he flips the narrative of the war on Hiccup, has to be my favorite scene in the whole movie.
And we have the answer. Back on Berk. Just let me show you.
No! Let me show you.
And show him he did. This scene has Drago showing Hiccup that just like the dragons, some beings are impossible to reason with, and trying to tame Drago is what causes Hiccup to lose everything. His father, his best friend, the land of Berk, And the only thing stopping Hiccup from losing himself after all this, just like Drago did, is the people of Berk he is now obligated to protect. And I just want to say, the scene where Hiccup loses a war is absolutely beautiful. It truly feels like a genuine defeat. As a viewer, I genuinely had no clue how Hiccup and the people of Berk could recover from a defeat on this scale. It almost reminds me of Marineford. Anyways, but through Hiccup and Toothless's unbreakable bond, they won in the end, defeating Drago and the Alpha. Oh, and I just want to say, I absolutely love how Drago controls the dragons with nothing but a pure rage scream. No supernatural power behind it or anything like that. No, it's just pure Drago adrenaline. And I know I may have mentioned it before, but Stoick's redemption in this movie is absolutely brilliant. Just the amount he grew as a character from How to Train Your Dragon 1's ending to now really sells well here. You can tell he's far more understanding of his son, and even less naive and stubborn than before, willing to let his son and others make decisions, and even letting him take lead in some cases. Or when he finds his wife alive, hiding from him for over 20 years, instead of getting belligerent like he would have in the first movie, he genuinely accepts and understands her decision, and even finds peace with it as he bonds with her, showing Hiccup a beautiful family moment he thought he'd never see. And of course, Stoick's fight with Drago is just completely outstanding.
Takes more than a little fire to kill me.
All of this is what makes his death all the more sad. Whether it be that Stoick died a better man than he was before, or that he died to the dragon that initially showed him change is okay. Almost in a way where, without the context of the Alpha's hypnosis, it makes Drago look right for seeing dragons as nothing more than weapons. If there were some problems I had with this movie, it would be that I feel like Hiccup wasn't given enough face-to-face time with Drago. I found their dynamic extremely interesting, and I wish we also got to see more of Drago's backstory than just a missing arm. I mean, in How to Train Your Dragons 3, I'd argue they gave Grimmel a lot more screen time, and he wasn't even as interesting of a villain. Another thing that bugged me, kind of the elephant in the room, is that they killed Stoick off so fast. I mean, the dude literally reunites with his wife, does a little dance jiggy, and 10 minutes later he's fucking dead. Like, goddamn. I get he was a prick in the first movie, but he grew from it. He did not deserve that. At least soften the blow. Holy shit. Also, I don't want to say this is a problem, because I'm sure there's an explanation behind it, but where the hell did Hiccup get this sword? Like, it just kind of appears. Like, no explanation whatsoever. Where did he get this? But with all that said, How to Train Your Dragons 2 is an excellent movie. Honestly, one that I found a lot of fun in talking about. I wouldn't call it a perfect movie, as you could argue they waste too much time in the beginning that could have been used to build on elements that needed more ground in the end, but at the end of the day, the writing here is amazing, the animation is a grand step up from the first, and the conclusion of Hiccup bonding with Toothless eternally and finding it in himself to lead Berk was a fantastic and satisfying conclusion. Something many people can't seem to think for the third movie. How to Train Your Dragons 2 is just an awesome experience that, in my opinion, does the best job of showing why How to Train Your Dragons is such a strong franchise. And if you still don't believe me, then let me show you.
No! Let me show you! Oh!